Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum, and this is a game from the most recent weekend tournament Americas, and I'm up against Doggo Scientist. This is actually game number 7. I've been doing pretty well so far in this tournament. I only lost one game, and that one game was also to Doggo Scientist. So we both kind of went around. He lost the game, and then we found each other at the final round of the tournament. In this game, I am playing Aerial Specialist, and I'll be up against Doggo's Giant Specialist. I started with Mustangs and Crawlers, the same as I did in the very first game that I played against Doggo. And he is going with Sledgehammers and Marksmen. When you're against heavy chaff setup like I have, putting sledgehammers in a vertical configuration is very efficient. The reason being, the sledgehammers usually can kill a bunch of units with just that one shot, but if you're having them in a horizontal position, then some of them might be shooting at the same unit. Having them this way will almost ensure that they're firing at different units, effectively killing them before the next tank starts or fires is shot. So as a result of that, you never really overkill on anything, and you become very efficient at bringing down the opponent's chaff. And as you can see here, he completely destroyed me on the right hand side, and on the left hand side, I think he's going to win this fight as well. So good positioning from Doggo's side. Alright, a few units, that's very interesting. Extended range Vulcan, very interesting card, very powerful for my opponent because my board is primarily chaff and Mustangs. He took the extended range Vulcan and I took the Rhino Assault. The reason I took the Rhino Assault is that I noticed his flanks are a bit weak. So I want to catch him down there with the flank while his units engage with mine at the front. And I was also preparing him to go with a Vulcan, being a Giant Specialist. He can put down a Giant starting on round 2. I added the attack upgrade on my Mustangs, making them a lot more powerful. And I dropped the Rhino here at the corner. This Rhino is actually pulling a bunch of Crawlers over to his side. So what that means is that these tanks here actually have no Crawler support. My left side is probably going to fall, however my right side is winning. The +1 attack really made a difference when the Crawlers are shooting, when the Mustangs were shooting at the Crawlers. So I highly recommend taking up that upgrade whenever you're running Mustangs. Alright, got pretty lucky with the positioning in this game, and also the fact that my opponent did not put out the Vulcan. But it is always going to be in the back of my head. Vulcan card is offered, so very much expect him to take the Vulcan. For me, I decided I wanted to take the Rhino in case he does take the Vulcan, so my Rhino is going to provide a great screen, allowing the rest of my units to shoot at his Vulcan. Now last game I dropped Rhino on this side, so I expect the Vulcan to be on this side, which means I wanted to hit where he's weaker. So I'm going to hit here, hopefully get tower, and then run the Rhino across and face his Vulcan. My opponent didn't take Vulcan, and instead he took the Rhino as well. So now this is a very interesting mirror matchup. I have slightly better chaff clear compared to these sledgehammers. I added 2 sets of Wasp here at the front, and then going to be another set here at the flank. The reason I added Wasp is 1, to respond to my opponent's lack of anti-air, and 2 is I want to transition into sandworms in the future. Wasp Sandworm is a pretty strong current meta. Sandworm with Sandstorm essentially makes the worm himself a giant sponge of damage, allowing the units to shoot and clear out everything else. And because Sandstorm only affects ground units, that just means that my Wasp can deal with his units without being negatively influenced by the Sandstorm. So at least for this round, my flank Wasps paid off, got the tower, and that allowed me to take care of the rest of his army. Okay. A lot of good cards. I think Rhino Assault is going to be another great card. I keep pounding on this side, and I know that he's probably going to have some sort of response, maybe a squad of Mustangs here, and that's exactly what he did. By having the Rhino Assault, is going to be drawing fire from these Mustangs and hopefully allowing my Wasp to deal with the rest of his army and then eventually take tower. I also noticed that there is a marksman here, so I wanted to draw some fire away from this marksman. So the answer to that is just a set of crawlers at the front. Looking at the front here, I noticed that my opponent, at least for last game, I did not win the head-on clash between my Rhino and his Rhino. So I added Whirlwind to deal with his advanced crawlers. And also the Whirlwind should help with this Rhino here as well to clear out these crawlers as well as these Mustangs. I didn't account for the missile here, so that was a bit of a misplay by me. I don't have any sort of support for the Wasp anymore. But these Whirlwind Rhino are taking down a lot of chaff on that side. And what that means is most of my units are now moving into the front towards his tower. The Whirlwind also help on the right hand side. As you can see, the chaff has been dispatched fairly efficiently. So this is a quite heavy tempo round for me. Now, granted, one of the elements of that tempo round was temporary, and that's the Rhino drop. But everything else is pretty real. My opponent finally decided to take the Vulcan. So extended range Vulcan, a ton of damage, and he would likely add the Scorching Fire to it so that he can contest even giant units. Not that I have any giant units on this side of the board. I ended up picking the Wraith, which is an excellent support unit for the Sandworm. I added Degen Beam, which will help this entire cluster. Primarily, it will help against his level 3 Rhino. Right now, we're in kind of a mirror match, so whatever I can do to get an edge will be good. I added another set of Trawlers, now knowing that these Rhino, my Rhino has been always targeted by this marksman before engaging his Rhino, therefore dying a little faster, so hopefully my chaff would just be a little bit better. Wasn't expecting him to go double missile, so my Rhino is probably still going to be targeted, but no, the slow effect actually saved my Rhino's life here. Degen Being is very potent. All these Mustangs are being debuffed by 30%. Vulcan is doing a heck of a job killing my units. However, my chaff did go in, and my right hand side is winning thanks to Degen Being and just a very powerful Rhino. All right, we're going into possibly the final round. Absorption Module was picked up by me. Absorption Module is excellent on units like the Sandworm. Sandworm is incredibly tanky, so any sort of healing item on the Sandworm is going to be doubly effective. Added even more Sandworm to deal with the problem up here. Included Sandstorm, so right now none of these Mustangs can really move once the Sandworm pops right in front of them. It does have 120 range, which means these Mustangs, some of them might be out of the range, but not very likely, right? Because it's not like the Mustang can start shooting at the Sandworm from afar. They don't get to see the Sandworm until they pop. I pushed. And one of my Rhino was off cooldown again, so I got the Rhino one more time. My opponent pushed as well. So now let's see how powerful these Sandworms are with Sandstorm and Degen Beam. Even though my opponent has anti-air, but with the Sandworm, Sandstorm, it is going to stop a lot of his damage. Alright, first let's have the Rhino duel. Rhino gets dispatched very quickly. And now the Sandworm is going to get in. And it's going to pop out one more time. And this time, that is going to mess with the targeting of these Mustangs. No, didn't even get a chance to pop out because we're just killing things that quickly. On this side, as you can see, the Mustangs are being affected and they're coming in. This Sandworm here, every time it does damage, it heals itself. And there's just not enough damage on this side to effectively dispatch this Sandworm. It's going to live forever. And with that, this is the end of the game. I got my revenge on Doggo Scientist in this tournament. And he played an excellent game. I think the Sandworm Degen Wraith meta is just slightly too powerful against a Mustang heavy composition. And I was able to squeeze a win out of him. But it was a great game. I hope you enjoyed this game. And I hope to see you on the next one.